Hey guys, today we continue our study of probability with another vocabulary word. It's called simple event. So a simple event is just one event. Do you remember we flipped the coin one time? That is a simple event. The minute we flipped the coin two times, it was no longer a simple event. It was a compound event. We're not going to be talking about simple compound events today, just simple events. So one event happening, all right? So we're going to figure out how to figure out what that probability is as a fraction and as a percent. So let's get going. So in your notes, the very first thing is the word probability. Probability is the likelihood that the event will occur. Probability is typically written like this. And so I need to point that out. You won't have to write that out that often, but I want you to be aware of it. If I asked you what is the probability of getting heads on a coin, you might write it like that. If I said what is the probability of getting tails, you might write it like that. If you were rolling a dice and I said, what's the probability of rolling a 5? You might write that, which means the probability of getting 5 or the probability of getting tails. That's what that means. So look at number one. To figure out a probability of a simple event, first we need to figure out the total number of outcomes because that will be the denominator of our fraction. So we already talked about rolling a dice. There's 6 sides. Those sides are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the total possible outcomes is 6. The number 2, figure out the number of times that the event will occur. So then I give you an example. What's the possibility that you will roll a 4, a 5, or a 6? Well, if you go back to our original list, there's a 4, there's a 5, there's a 6. So that's 3 different sides of the dice that are possible outcomes that we want to have. Now, I'll take that. Number 3, now simplify your fraction. So the fraction is 3 over 6. Remember the total outcomes on the bottom, the number of possible outcomes that you want to get on the top, and that's 3 over 6. And I can simplify that. If I divide the top and the bottom by 3, I'll get 1 over 2. Now to change that fraction to a percent, some of you already know that 1/2 is 50%. But for 1/2 or something else, if you have a calculator, you could put the 1 in the calculator first and divide it by the denominator. If you don't, do you remember top in the box? So 2 goes into 1 0 times, add a decimal, add a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And so I have a decimal. Now, I don't know if you remember Dr. Pepper. I'm going to show it to you again. Dr. Pepper is just a way to remember that I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2 times to the right to change a decimal to a percent. So 0.5 becomes 50%. Let's move on. What is the probability, number 1, what is the probability of rolling an even number of dice? An even number on a dice. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list out all the possible outcomes on my dice. There are 6 of them. Now let's circle all the even numbers. 2 is an even number, 4 is an even number, 6 is an even number. So that's 3 out of 6 are even numbers. If I simplify it, I get a half. And as we already discovered, 1/2 is the same as 50%. So it's an even chance of getting those an even number on a pair of dice. All right, let's look at the next one. What is the probability of rolling a 2 on a dice? Again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are all the sides of a dice. And so that's 6 possible outcomes is always the denominator. Then we look at how many times 2 is one of those chances. Well, I only see 2 here one time. So I'm going to write, in fact, let me rewrite this. In fact, I'm going to back up a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and start setting up my fractions. So I'm going to start a little backtrack here. So the probability of getting 2, there's one chance of it, and there's 6 total chances. In fact, I'm going to back up even more to the first problem, and I'm going to say the chances of even numbers, that's my numerator, over the total. This keeps things straight in my brain. So it's a great way to start out a probability is to list what is your numerator, what is your denominator. The denominator is always going to be the total number of outcomes. All right, we're going to do the rest of these right. What if the probability of not, there's a big number. Look, it's all capitalized, so we have to pay attention. Not rolling a 3. Again, what do we got? The possible outcomes. There's 6 possible outcomes. So the total, and I want not 3. So there's 6 total. How many are not 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of those numbers are not 3. And I can't simplify 5 over 6 or 1 over 6. Okay, I'm leaving them as fractions. I'm not changing them into percents. Let's go to the number 4. Okay, I have a bag of marbles. There's 3 black, 2 green, 4 pink, 1 yellow, which equals a total of, let's see, 5, 10. 10 marbles. That's my total. So number 4 says, what is the probability of reaching in the bag and pulling out a green marble? And we're supposed to do it as a fraction and as a percent. So let's say green. I'm going to put G for green over T for total. Keeps my brain thinking right. I'm going to look up at my list and I see that there's 2 green. We already know that there's 10 total. Now I can turn this into, well, first I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. I can simplify the top and the bottom because they both can be divided by 2. So my fraction is 1 over 5. Now I'm going to write that as a percent. Top in the box, or if you have a calculator, you put the 1 in your calculator first. 5 goes into 1 0 times, add a decimal, add a 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. Now remember, this is just a decimal. To do percent, I do Dr. Pepper. So I'm going to move that decimal 1 2 times. So my percent is 20%. Bam. Let's keep going. You got this. What's the probability of reaching the bag and pulling out either pink or green? All right, so now we're pink or green out of the total. So let's see. We got 4 pink, 2 green. So that's 6 out of 10. I can simplify that to 3 over 5. So there's my fraction. Top in the box. Now when I, whoops, I did that wrong. When I when I first started teaching, I taught in Dallas. I remember a kid showing me this cute little rhyme, which I'll share with you in just a minute. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 1, 2, 60%. And this is what the kid told me. He said, I learned this thing from my other math teacher in 5th grade, that if 5 is the denominator, double the top. So let's look at the two fractions we had. 5 doubled, 5 is a denominator, 1 doubled is 2, 20%. Look at this one. 5 is a denominator, 3 doubled is 6, and that's actually for the decimal. So 3 over 5 becomes 0.6. That's 3 doubled. Then 0.6 becomes 60%. 1 over 5, 1 doubled is 2. That's 0.2. Move the decimal 2 times, you get 20%. Pretty cool little trick if you can remember. Okay, last one. What is the probability of reaching in the bag and pulling out any color except yellow? So we want no yellow in the total. So let's see, there's 1 yellow, there's 10 total. So there's 9 that are not yellow. And so there's my fraction. And then top in the box. 10 goes into 9 0 times. Add a decimal. Add a 0. 10 goes into 90 9 times. All right. I have 0.9. I remember another rhyme that a student taught me. He said, if 10 is the denominator, it is the top. 10 is a denominator. If you look, our decimal is 0.9. It is the top. And then I do Dr. Pepper, 1, 2. So I end up with 90%. Pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and box in my percents on these last two, as I forgot to do so. And with that, we're done. All right. See you later. Ask questions if you need anything. Bye-bye.